on Friday. You're writing sentences for olfactory, which is pertaining to smell, and imperious, which means domineering. So let's just review. What does the word, if you deride somebody, what does that mean? Yes, ridicule not, put them down. What about censure?
That's when you criticize.
Criticize sharply. So that could be something like, if you're a writer and your editor has a lot of corrections on your work, could that be considered being censured? If they have like red marks all over it.
Yeah.
Yes, that is. Right. What about gamble? What does it mean to gamble? G-A-M-B-O-L.
Stroll.
Stroll to play. Yes. Frolic about. What about immolate? Immolate. Kill someone sacrificial. Yes. So this typically, a lot of times it's by fire, right? I think a lot of times we use this metaphorically speaking. All right. What about recondite? What is recondite? Difficult to understand, profound. What about a martinet?
Strict disciplinary.
Strict disciplinarian. What about quagmire? Swamp, job. Yes. A gate.
Open mouth.
Yes. Carcinogen. Perfect. Okay, guys, so the test will be you're writing sentences based on, on these words. It'll be very much like the last one, except hopefully it won't have the little quirks, the issues that the other one had. All right, hopefully I've gotten all those out. Okay, let's go ahead and read these. Logan, do you want to read yours first? Okay, so olfactory, and typically olfactory is an adjective, and it has to do with pertaining to the senses. So, good sense of olfactory, that's good. Jonah.
Robert has a very foul olfactory.
All right, let's see. A foul sense of, pertaining to sense of smell. Tyler.
Robert has such a foul olfactory that everybody makes it.
Okay, we're using that as a noun instead of an adjective, aren't we?
Well, then can I say Robert's shoes are very olfactory?
No.
Well, how about let's not pick on Robert. How about just my brother's shoes bothered my olfactory senses. When you see the word olfactory, a lot of times you see the word senses somewhere in the sentence. Like Logan, he used his, I have good sense of olfactory. Robert has a very foul. They're picking all over Robert. I don't know why.
No.
If you understood.
Okay, guys, so look, Sierra also used it correctly. Guys, listen, if you get COVID, your olfactory senses don't work. That's correct. Okay, Brennan, my dog has a good sense of olfactory, and guess what they do? Dogs have a keen sense of smell, don't they? That's also used correctly. Jacob, stinky shoes were messing with my olfactory senses. That's also used correctly. So, guys, if you've used it as a noun, you need to go back and correct that, okay? Make sure you're using it as an adjective. All right? All right. Imperious. Tyler, you read your sentence? Good. Imperious means domineering, right? Sierra, my father talks in an imperious voice most of the time. Logan. Good. And Braden. The king announced in an imperious voice. And Jonah.
The imperious told you.
Very good. And Caden. I'm imperious to my little sister. Oh, how about, let's see. I don't know why that ought to work. Not impervious. All right, the boy's dad had a very imperious voice, when he got into trouble. Okay, so guys, tomorrow we'll do grotesque.
I'll fix my video.
Awesome. We'll do grotesque and neologism and hackneyed. Okay, so which one did you fix for olfactory? Yes, Jonah. Oh, this is so, y'all. No, and that's actually with an E, stench, but it's not true. No. Another. Yeah, I mean, it's, come on. Terrible sense of olfactory. Okay, good. All right, guys, questions on this for the test for Friday. We will have class on Friday. I know that Friday's homecoming largely. We will be going to 1A for an hour. And then it's going to be homecoming festivities until 4th block. Fourth and 5th is normal.
I don't get here until 4th and 5th period. Do I have to come?
As far as I know, now here's what I tell kids.
It's optional.
It is. It's your senior year, though. It's your senior year. You want to do it again.
No.
I mean, just think about that. That's all. I'm not trying to guilt trip you.
No,
I want you to think about it. I just want you to think about it. That's all. Okay, guys. So now we are supposed to do, y'all need to go ahead and get in your journals. I've got it worded here that we are on the 3rd video. I thought we're on the 4th one.
What was the last one, I think?
We're on the last. We already watched the 3rd one. He spoke Anglo-Saxon, the Lord's Prayer. Okay, so we're on 4. I feel like for both classes, we're going to finish today. Great. So guys, you need your notes. And I'm going to go ahead and log out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to the videos.
Hello.
Okay. All right. So guys, we know that we are writing 5 notes on these, right? My virtual people, you guys need to hang on. Normally I would say we're watching a video. Y'all can cut off and watch it on your own, but we will not. We're going to be reading Beowulf in probably about 20 minutes. So we're going to be starting. So I'll need you to make sure that you're on, online with us as we start. Okay. All right. Is everybody ready to start? I'm going to go ahead and get past his greeting. We know what he greets, and he says, pay attention, take notes. So we're going to skip that a little bit. All right, here we go.
To your reading of the Beowulf poem. Here are the terms that we will cover in today's podcast. Consonants, assonance, caesura, metonymy, synecdoche, caning. Let's begin. Now you may remember from earlier English classes that alliteration is the repetition of an initial sound in neighboring words of a poem. The example on the slide is from Wordsworth's Lucy Gray, and sings a solitary song that whistles in the wind. And if you look for the repetition of initial sounds in neighboring words here, what you find is a repetition of S sounds and W sounds. Sings, solitary, song, whistles, wind. Consonants and assonance are types of alliteration. Consonance is the repetition of a consonant sound anywhere within the neighboring words of a poem. And assonance is the repetition of a vowel sound anywhere within the neighboring words of a poem.
Do I need to pause it? Or
The
y'all
difference
good?
between consonants and assonance
Next
and
screen.
alliteration is that in alliteration, the repetition of the sound
Go back on this screen, or
of a poem. The difference
Okay.
between consonants and assonance and alliteration is that in alliteration, the repetition of the sound is at the beginning of the word.
like Peter
In
Piper picked a peck of
consonants
pickled
and in
peppers.
assonance, the repetition can occur anywhere within a given word.
Yes.
I'll go back.
So let's take a look at some
Go
examples.
back. Sure.
All right,
Here's an excerpt from
No, we'll go back. Yes.
Don't Multicast.
Oh no! Look what I
And take
did.
note.
Oh, no.
Oh, guys. Oh no. Gotta watch me. Where were we? Oh, were we this far?
No,
Oh, no. Oh,
The difference between
stressing out here in front of this. Getting it right on the spot. I like it because he goes into detail about each one, consonants and assonants, and it's important because Beowulf, that's how Beowulf rhymes. Instead of rhyming at the end of the words, it rhymes in the middle. Are y'all good? No. You guys ready now? Yes?
between consonants and assonants and alliteration is that
I'm gonna go to the next screen if I dare.
consonant.
There we go.
So let's take a look at some examples. Here's an excerpt from a poem that you may have read last year. It's from Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Whose woods are these? I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. You will notice that the W sound occurs in numerous places here, both at the beginning of words and at the end. This is what distinguishes consonants from mere alliteration. In alliteration, the sound repeats only at the beginning of words, but in consonants, and in assonants for that matter, the sound can repeat anywhere within the words. Here is another example. This one is from the Beowulf poem. No counselor could ever expect fair reparation from those rabid hands. The consonants here comes in the repetition of the R sound at various points in the lines. The R at the end of counselor, the R at the end of ever, the R at the end of fair, the R at the beginning of reparation, the R in the middle of reparation, the R in the middle of from, and the R at the beginning of rabid. Assonance is the same idea, but with vowel sounds instead of consonant sounds. Let's look at two examples. The first is also from the Beowulf poem. You waded in, embracing water, taking its measure, mastering currents, riding on the swell. You can see that the assonance is in the long A sound, in waded and embracing and taking. Here's an example I made up just for this lesson. He sees the eager fleet sweep by the sleeping Greeks. Can you find the assonance in this line?
That's right. That's right. E.
If you identify the long E sound
That's right.
in he and sees and eager and fleet and sweep and sleeping and Greeks, you're correct. Again, notice how the sound can appear anywhere in a given word. This is what distinguishes assonance and consonants from alliteration. Okay, let's move on. If you look at any even-numbered page in your Beowulf book, you will notice that each line in the Anglo-Saxon version of the poem has a small break in the middle, where the speaker is supposed to pause for just a second. That break is called the caesura, and while caesura are found in many different types of poems throughout history, they are a structural feature of Anglo-Saxon poetry. Now, it's pretty easy for a guy like me to geek out on the whole Anglo-Saxon poetry thing, but let me just take a moment to explain why assonants, consonants, and caesura are important. In modern English poetry, poetry written in the language that we speak, lines of verse usually rhyme at the end. In the Frost poem, for example, no rhymes with though and snow. For nearly 7 centuries, end rhymes have been a structural feature of much of the poetry that was written and that we read. But Anglo-Saxon poetry doesn't rhyme at the end. It rhymes in the middle, using consonants and assonants that's placed on stressed syllables, 2 of which fall on the left side of the caesura and 1 of which falls on the right side of the caesura. And you can see this in each line that I've marked on your screen. In the first line, circled in orange, are the S's. Each one of those is an accent. In the second line, it's the M's. In the third line, it's the E's. In the fourth line, it's the F's. In the fifth, it's the W's. So that Anglo-Saxon poetry rhymes not at the end, like the poetry that we read today, but it rhymes in the middle. And those rhymes are divided by the caesura. 2 of the rhymes come on the left-hand side of the caesura. A third rhyme is on the right.
Sure.
So while consonants,
Yes. Absolutely. That's why I'm terrible at Kahoot. It's not that I don't know the answers. I'm not quick enough on the, the punching it. It's not easy. I would do better on a touch screen, I think, but it's harder to. When you plot on your phone, is it touch screen on your phone? Oh, so you can just click the red, or that you can click the color. I think I might do better on that than.
Yeah, it's easier. If you can't accidentally click on the computer, you accidentally.
Sure.
That's what I've been all along.
It's frustrating. I mean,
So I missed it.
Are you guys ready to go?
and assonants and caesura are found in all sorts of English language poetry. They're an important structural part of the poetry of the Anglo-Saxons. The next term that you need to know is metonymy. Metonymy is a metaphor that substitutes one word for another closely associated with it. Let's look at a few examples. In the sentence, the White House refused to comment
Can we
on
go
the
back?
scandal, the White House
Can we go
stands for
back?
something else.
Metonymy?
All sorts of English
Oh,
language
good
poetry.
grief. See?
Not good.
I know. It's hard. I'd be a terrible surgeon.
Next term that you need to know,
Like, oh,
Let's see.
operate his wrong shoulder.
Oh.
I'm not doing. Yeah. I don't have steady hands. Yeah. That's not the only reason. I'm not a back and forth person. Now this is dated because he shows President Obama as his example here for this, and we know, I mean, so it was made, when Obama was in office.
Michelle Obama.
Wait, whoa.
Well, it's not negative at all. It just says just using example. Because the White House says something. That's the president.
It's my birthday.
Are we ready? Ready, guys? No? Yes? Yes, everybody? Okay.
is metonymy. Metonymy is a metaphor that substitutes one word for another closely associated with it. Let's look at a few examples. In the sentence, the White House refused to comment on the scandal, the White House stands for something else. After all, it's a house, so it can't comment on anything. What it stands for, of course, is the president, the person who can comment and who is most closely associated with the White House. Let's look at another example. In the sentence, the suits down on Wall Street were responsible for the financial crisis. Suits is a metonym. After all, suits can't do much of anything on their own. And it's a metonym for the guys who wear the suits down on Wall Street, the investment bankers.
He looks like he's like
Now it's
10
your
years
turn.
old to me.
In the sentence,
He looks so
the
young.
knights swore allegiance to the crown. What does the crown stand for?
Okay, very good.
If you said that the crown is a metonym for the king and the queen, people who are closely associated with crowns, you're right.
Good.
This brings us to our next term, synecdoche. A synecdoche is a metonym in which the part represents the
You
whole.
want to pause it?
Let's look at it.
Synecdoche.
How do you say the M word?
Metonym.
Metonym. Why is there a Y at the end?
Was there what?
A Y at the end.
Oh, metonymy.
Yeah,
Right,
metonymy.
right. Uh-huh.
Baton.
Metonymy.
Baton.
Guys, we use synecdoche all the time. You can't realize it.
Louise, what?
Synecdoche.
Is that?
Well, it's saying that like if something has a part of something, you just call it that whole name. Like,
Like your,
I can't think of a nice one because there's so many bad ones.
so what do you mean, like something that we call something for?
Like you can call somebody brains if they're really smart, and you know they've got more things in their brain. You call them okay brains. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was a positive one. Are we ready to go?
Yeah.
A few
It's got to
examples.
be part of the body, like a body part.
Here's Mr. Durnan. His title is head of the school, which means that he's at the top of the school's administrative body. Now, head of the school is a metaphor, but it's also a synecdoche, since Mr. Durnan has a head, which is part of the whole of his own body. Similarly, we often refer to laborers as hands, farm hands, cow hands, factory hands, helping hands, and so on. Since people who work usually do so with their hands, which are parts of their whole bodies, the term hands is, in this case, a synecdoche. As you might guess, body parts are common synecdoches. If you commit a crime, you can be caught by the long arm of the law. Or if someone needs to proofread an essay, you can be a second set of eyes. Or if your friend needs to talk, you can be all ears. Or if your brother is doing something that you don't like, you can tell him that he's being well, never mind. You get the picture. The part that represents the whole.
I don't get it.
Did you like play that back so much?
Think on it. No.
Finally, we have one more term for today's lesson, kenning. The kenning is specific to Anglo-Saxon poetry, and it's a metonym that uses colorful, interesting, highly figurative language to take the place of a simple noun. Here are a few examples. Hellish fiend is a kenning used in the Beowulf poem to describe the monster Grendel. Spear bearers is a kenning used in the Beowulf poem to describe the warriors. Whale's Road is used to describe the sea. Heart of the people is a description of the king. Heart of the people, of course, a synecdoche as well, because the king has a heart.
Do you want to go back?
Yeah.
Kennings are a common, of course, a synecdoche as well.
Love that. We'll see a lot of kennings in the excerpt we're going to read. I'm so excited to get started. I'm so ready. Start it. Okay, how can the sea be a whale's road?
What? Oh, because the wells don't, they ain't got roads.
No, it's like a car to an actual.
It's kinda like a
road,
plane
like
to the
a well
sky.
to a.
It's like a plane to the sky.
That's
They can go in
right. Very good.
except on.
I like it. Are you all finished yet? No? Yeah, I wish I could show you a bit of the movie, but there's no part I can show you the movie. It's just, well, for one thing, Brad Wolf is not dressed when he fights the It's like, I'm not gonna say that. But also, when they're in the meantime, they feel dirty. The music is dirty. They sing dirty songs. Well, it's really not. I don't know. Yeah, it's I can't show the.
It's around there.
Okay, guys, is it ready to go? Y'all ready?
Yes, man.
Awesome.
Because the king has a heart.
Almost finished.
Kennings are a common feature in Anglo-Saxon poetry. In fact, the names of nearly every main character in the Beowulf poem is a kenning. Here are some examples. Let's begin with Beowulf. Beo means bee. Wolf means hunter. Beowulf means bee hunter. And a bee hunter, of course, is a bear. Now, the king of the Danish tribe is a man named Hrothgar. Hroth means glory. Gar means spear. So Hrothgar means glory spear. Hrothgar's wife is a woman named Wealhtheow. Weal means peace. Theow means servant. So Wealhtheow means peace servant. Beowulf's father is a man named Ecgtheow. Edge is a synecdoche for a sword. The business end of a sword is its edge, the part that represents the whole. Theow, of course, means servant, so Ecgtheow means sword servant. Kennings are common in Anglo-Saxon poetry, and they're important for two reasons. The most obvious reason is artistic. Kennings are beautiful words that sound great to the ear, and they create striking images that help bring the story alive in the listener's mind. But Kennings had a second, equally important role in the telling of the poem from memory. Kennings served as ready-made phrases that the poet would use to give himself time to think of the next line in the poem. In this way, Kennings were functional, and they aided the poet in the process of storytelling, allowing him to keep the flow as he spun out his tale.
Okay.
That concludes both this podcast and the podcast.
All right, so guys, we are now finished with that part. So the notes, I want you to keep your notes handy though, because we're about to start reading the Beowulf text.
Hey, Griffin.
Absolutely, yes. So guys, I just want to introduce you to, we've been going to Beowulf. This is where we've been going for a long time. You at the same time? Just if you can't wait, I guess you can go, but if not, All right, so guys, the first one, this is another PDF excerpt of Beowulf, and it is the Raphael translation. And a lot of what is here in the introduction, we've already learned through the video. So I'm not going to have us read that in class, but it's there for you to look back on. We are going to go ahead and look at this. This is where we'll be using most of our information for Beowulf. This is going to be, notice the top, number one is a brief synopsis of Beowulf. These are where we'll visit for the text. This is the actual text where you'll be reading, and below are the audio readings that you can listen. We as a class can listen, or if you want to do it individually, you can do that as well. All right. The only thing I do want to stop, like whenever we read Grendel and Beowulf, I want to stop and have us do something in our journal, so that my people who are virtual will need to make sure that they are paying attention and able to respond. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we start? I want to go ahead and ask also kind of how you all want to do this, because we can read it whole class, or if you'd rather read it, I'll give you time. You can read a section, then we can talk about whole class, and then read, individually. I don't know what you all like to do. What's best for you all? And my virtual people, I'm asking also what you all would like to do. My virtual? So, okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we, I will post questions in the chat in case there's somebody who would rather just read it themselves, and then check back in to make sure you're getting your journal done. And then as a class, if you also just want to watch that, you'll be with us. And of course, I'm recording everything, so it'll be there as well. So I'm leaving that up to you guys. But I do expect you to keep up with the journal entries, and we'll be having them after every excerpt. And when I say excerpt, this is what it looks like on the page. It's broken down here in the readings. You can see the Beowulf, the Grendel. All right, now just really fast before we start, notice these are all audio readings. Notice it's very short, but guys, it's poetry, so it's really packed full of meaning. So everything we read, we need to make sure that we are understanding, taking away the plot from what's going on. We'll be looking at these questions. I'm not going to have us watch another video right now, but these are just really short. Like this is a 10-minute video. It's Beowulf background history, which is good. I can't show you that. This is also another one. I think it's like 5 minutes. It's as good. That's good also. And the bottom of this is just funny. I mean, I won't take class time to watch it, but it's the Ultimate Lego Beowulf and Animated Epics also. So that's just kind of for fun. So we'll spend most of our time up here in the text. Anybody have any questions at all? I'm hoping, and it's already 10 after 2, we can start and maybe read at least Grendel before class is over today. So also, would y'all rather read, like take turns reading, or would you rather just play the audio? Because the audio follows along perfectly with this. I just wanted to wait until everybody's back in the room and we can start together. But this is what it looks like. So guys, you'll go to this, you'll have to touch download. And then once you do download, it's going to come up like this. This will be your text. And you can, of course, make it larger over here, which I will make it really large for our screen. But the narrator reads every bit. He'll start off reading this part, and then he'll start reading the actual text. So guys, this part is the actual poem, A Powerful Monster Living Down. And keep in mind, again, of course, these are all translations that we're reading. So this particular one, do we know which translation this is? I don't know if it said or not. Translation. Hi, how are you?
I received Karen Pate's message.
I did not.
Email.
Do you want to check it right now?
I think she's needing an AP certificate.
Oh, sure, I've got
So
it.
you
Okay.
got it?
I do. I have
Okay.
to print it off.
That's fine. Just
And I can
give
do it
her-
right
yeah,
after. You want to do it between classes or right after
just-
school?
Yeah, that's fine.
I've
Just
got
give
it.
her a copy of
I sure will. I'll get it to her. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. All right, guys. So we are. I'm trying to wait on my two who are out, but I think we're going to go ahead and start. So, guys, this is Barton Raphael's translation. So again, I need y'all to. A lot of you have your computers open, and that is fine. I will. I can use GoBard, and I hope to do that. I feel like it's like I don't trust you, but here's the deal. You're human. Well, you know what? The best of us teachers, we have to be, we're not careful. We'll sit there and kind of, what's going on, outside this meeting. We don't need to do that. So I will turn it on today, and I will keep it on when we're reading, because I feel like we need to be held accountable. Okay? Y'all know that? I'll give you an example. All right, so this is our job. Teachers, we have administrators here. They're over us. They're over you guys. They make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do, just like they make sure you're doing what we're supposed to do. So it's just accountability. So don't take it personally. Yes.
Sorry.
What? Okay. Can you wait until I get back? Okay. Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and start. This is Barton Raphael's. Again, guys, are you watching what I'm doing? I'm having to hit download on this, and then you're able to go in and get the text. What? Okay, it's the very first one. If you look right here, we're clicking on Grendel, and then we're going to download. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead. Is there anybody in here who's going to listen to it on their own with an earbud? Okay. I got to keep going outside of this. Don't I? Yeah. Hang on. I want to go ahead and start playing it, and then we can go back. So.
This is Beowulf, Part 1, Grendel. Hrothgar.
Okay, it won't stay on, guys, it won't stay on both. So here's what I need y'all to do. If you can keep it on your, I wasn't sure if it would do that. You all need to read on your screen. Okay? Keep it on your screen. I'll play it on this.
This is Beowulf, Part 1, Grendel.
That stinks that I can't read that.
Hrothgar, king of the Danes, has built a wonderful mead hall called Heorot, where his subjects congregate and make merry. As the selection opens, a fierce and powerful monster named Grendel invades the mead hall, bringing death and destruction. A powerful monster living down in the darkness, growled in pain, impatient as day after day the music rang loud in that hall, the harp's rejoicing call and the poet's clear song sung of the ancient beginnings of us all, recalling the Almighty making the earth, shaping these beautiful plains marked off by oceans, then proudly setting the sun and moon to glow across the land and light it. The corners of the earth were made lovely with trees and leaves made quick with life, with each of the nations who now move on its face. And then as now, warriors sang of their pleasure. So Hrothgar's men lived happy in his hall, till the monster stirred, the demon, the fiend, Grendel, who haunted the moors, the wild marshes, and made his home in a hell, not hell but earth. He was spawned in that slime, conceived by a pair of those monsters born of Cain, murderous creatures banished by God, punished forever for the crime of Abel's death. The Almighty drove those demons out, and their exile was bitter. Shut away from men, they split into 1,000 forms of evil, spirits and fiends, goblins, monsters, giants, a brood forever opposing the Lord's will, and again defeated. Then, when darkness had dropped, Grendel went up to Heorot, wondering what the warriors would do in that hall when their drinking was done. He found them sprawled in sleep, suspecting nothing, their dreams undisturbed. The monster's thoughts were as quick as his greed or his claws. He slipped through the door, and there in the silence snatched up 30 men, smashed them unknowing in their beds, and ran about with their bodies, the blood dripping behind him, back to his lair, delighted with his night's slaughter. At daybreak, with the sun's first light, they saw how well he had worked, and in that gray morning broke their long feast with tears and laments for the dead. Hrothgar, their lord, sat joyless in Heorot, a mighty prince mourning the fate of his lost friends and companions, knowing by its tracks that some demon had torn his followers apart. He wept, fearing the beginning might not be the end, and that night Grendel came again, so set on murder that no crime could ever be enough, no savage assault quench his lust for evil. Then each warrior tried to escape him, searched for rest in different beds, as far from Heorot as they could find, seeing how Grendel hunted when they slept. Distance was safety. The only survivors were those who fled him. Hate had triumphed, and so Grendel ruled, fought with the righteous, one against many and won. So Heorot stood empty and stayed deserted for years. 12 winters of grief for Hrothgar, king of the Danes, sorrow heaped at his door by hell-forged hands. His misery leaped the seas, was told and sung in all men's ears, how Grendel's hatred began, how the monster relished his savage war on the Danes, keeping the bloody feud alive, seeking no peace, offering no truce, accepting no settlement, no price in gold or land, and paying the living for one crime only with another. No one waited for reparation from his plundering claws. That shadow of death hunted in the darkness, stalked Hrothgar's warriors, old and young, lying and waiting, hidden in mist, invisibly following them from the edge of the marsh, always there, unseen. So mankind's enemy continued his crimes, killing as often as he could, coming alone, bloodthirsty and horrible. Though he lived in Heorot when the night hid him, he never dared to touch King Hrothgar's glorious throne, protected by God, God whose love Grendel could not know. But Hrothgar's heart was bent. The best and most noble of his council debated remedies, sat in secret sessions talking of terror, and wondering what the bravest of warriors could do. And sometimes they sacrificed to the old stone gods, made heathen vows, hoping for hell's support, the devil's guidance in driving their affliction off. That was their way, and the heathen's only hope, hell always in their hearts, knowing neither God nor his passing as he walks through our world, the Lord of heaven and earth. Their ears could not hear his praise nor know his glory. Let them beware those who are thrust into danger, clutched at by trouble, yet can carry no solace in their hearts, cannot hope to be better. Hail to those who will rise to God, drop off their dead bodies, and seek out our Father's peace.
Okay, so I think you can already tell that you're going to really have, when we read this, you're going to have to give it concentration. And I personally don't like not being able to see what's, I want to be able to have on the screen as we're reading it, or just, I don't do as well with it. Do what? You like to listen. Okay, so let me ask you this. What happened in this passage? A lot happened.
What happened?
I heard, yeah, I
I
heard
mean, let's talk
that
about Grendel.
Linda.
Okay.
Grendel.
So what?
Is it Grendel?
It's
It's like this demon or something.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
like.
That kills people.
He does.
And Babel's dad, I don't know his name, it's kind of like
Yes.
ask for help from like Satan or God or something, but God's not listening or something
Okay,
like that.
okay,
And he's trying to ask for help.
okay. So let me ask you this. You already see the Christian influence. Yes.
Yes.
What about the pagan influence? Do you see that anywhere?
What is pagan again?
Pagan is just absence of, it's not Christian. It's the absence of, it's worldly.
Oh.
Okay, so you got the Christian and you got worldly. You got the opposite. So,
They're also asking for the devil too, the devil's help, right?
well, they're saying that that Cain is actually not Cain. Grendel is actually a descendant of Cain, so that is an illusion.
Oh,
You were asking something.
It's not over. I was just saying it's too funny.
Oh, okay. Well, just 1 second. We will get tech time in just a minute. So, guys, here's the thing for me. For me to be able to properly do this, and I know that you guys might be fine, but I'm going to have it in front of me as we
yeah,
read it.
that's fine with me.
And also, I'll be honest, I like to stop more than that, and I hope I don't drive you crazy, but I like to stop about every, I don't know, at least, like I would have stopped at the bottom of that line, which I know that's not a full sentence, but I'm going to have to do that so we can talk about it. All right, because have I told you what it is, like if you're reading and you're not listening, you're not listening, that's like mowing with your blade not down. Have y'all ever done that? Mow the yard and your blade's not down? What do you have to do then?
Redo it.
Yes, so something with reading, if you don't read with your blade down. So I wasn't reading with I've read this a lot of times, but I'm not able to talk much about it. So tomorrow, guys, when we come in here tomorrow, I want to reread this, but I'm gonna have it up here, we're going to stop. And then we'll work in our journal, okay? But for me, I'm just gonna have to do it differently, and I apologize because in the past, we've had the books out. I'm having to learn how to do this, and so I wanna make sure that it's good for you all, okay?
Okay.
So tomorrow, same thing, but we'll stop more, okay? And talk about it. But you guys overall have it, but I just wanna do that. All right, guys, you may have your tech time. How is my virtual doing? How are virtual people? You guys doing okay, virtual? We are having our tech time now. I'm going to stop presenting. I'm going to stop recording. I can tell you this much. Tomorrow, we will have it on the screen.